When we calculate interest, we're going to use this formula right here. Now, it looks a little bit different than our previous example if you watch the other videos about exponential growth. However, it's very similar with just one sort of added variable to it and a couple of letters they switched around. Our p-value in this case is going to represent something called the principal, which is really just our initial amount invested. So once again, that number in front is going to be the initial amount. We still have that 1 plus as part of the problem, 1 meaning we always start with 100%, and we're adding to that because we're increasing something. R is still going to be our rate, and we remember that that always has to be as a decimal. N is the new part, so I'm going to skip over that for just a second. T is still time up there in the exponent. So then the new part of this model that was not in our previous model was this n value. The n is going to represent the number of times per year that interest is compounded or calculated. So that value can change. For example, if they say the interest is compounded monthly, well, there's 12 months in a year, so n would be 12. So that's really the only new part we need to know about using this model. So let's go ahead and set up an example and see if we can get this typed in our calculators correctly to find out the interest we make. So let's go ahead and do interest compounded quarterly, which means 4 times a year. So let's see what we've got. We've got $4,000 that we're depositing, so there's my initial amount, the principal. We have our interest rate over here, 2.92%. Remember, that always has to be represented as a decimal. So 0.0292, just divide that by 100. I've got the time, so that's my R value, I'll label that. And I've got the time right here, I want to do this for 5 years, okay? So let's do part A together, and I'll have you guys try part B on your own. So I want to calculate my interest if it's compounded or calculated quarterly. So my initial amount is $4,000, that's what I invest to start, times 1 plus the rate, which is 0.0292. And I want to divide that by how many times per year, that's what the n stands for, that my interest is compounded. Well, if it's quarterly, that's going to mean 4 times per year, just like there's 4 quarters in a dollar or 4 quarters in a basketball game. So I'll divide that by 4. And then notice in the exponent, it's not just time, it's n, which once again is still 4, times the time, so times 5. Okay, so there's our model. Now what I'd recommend doing is when you type this in your calculator, just type the entire thing in at once. I don't care what 1 plus 0.292 divided by 4 is. Just go ahead and get that whole thing typed in at the same time. One thing to be cautious of, if you have an older calculator that does not do exponents like up top, like the newer ones do, make sure, it's very important, you have that 4 times 5 in parentheses. If you're not sure, you can use them anyway, or what some people suggested was just make it 20 right away. Either way, I want you guys to pause the video, get out your calculator, and try to get this typed in just to make sure you come up with the same answer that I do. What a silly reason to miss the question if you can get it all set up but don't get it calculated correctly. So once I've done that, I came up with an answer of approximately $4,626. And since we're dealing with money, we'll round to 2 decimal places for cents, so 33 cents. If you didn't get that, try it again or have me take a look at what you typed in class. Okay? What I'd like you to do is pause the video and try to set up this second part, the daily part, on your own. Now in this case, the only thing that's going to change is my n value. Rather than calculating interest 4 times a year, if I'm calculating interest daily, we're going to say that n is 365. So go ahead and pause the video, try to get this model set up, and then also try to get it typed in your calculator. And if you let it play through, my work will pop up in just a couple seconds. There's my model. Notice the only thing that changed was the 365. Notice it changed in 2 spots because n shows up twice in the exponent and in the denominator. And hopefully you came up with the same answer I did, $4,628.76. If not, go ahead and double check what you typed in or ask me in class. Maybe it was you forgot parentheses or under exponent. And notice what happened. When I compounded the interest more often, we went from quarterly to daily, the more often I calculated, the higher amount of money that I make. So I wonder what would happen if we compounded this not just daily, but maybe by the hour or by the minute or second. I should, in theory, continue making more money. And while that's true, it does turn out there's a limit that we reach. There's a maximum amount we could make. But that's a completely separate formula that we may take a look at in a different video.